From BBC Learning English, this is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines.
In this programme, Air India crash report doubts.
Hello, I'm Beth.
And I'm Phil.
In this programme, we look at one big news story and the vocabulary in the headlines that will help you understand it.
You can find all the vocabulary and headlines from this episode as well as a worksheet on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
So let's hear more about this story.
On the 12th of June, Air India Flight 171 from Ahmedabad to London crashed less than a minute after takeoff, killing 241 people on board and 19 on the ground.
The first report, known as a preliminary report, published by India's Air Accident Investigation Bureau, has caused controversy.
It has been criticised by aviation experts and the Indian Commercial Pilots Association. The chief executive of Air India also warned against making conclusions too early.
There have been questions about information that has not yet been provided.
Let's have our first headline. This is from BBC News. As theories swirl about Air India crash, key details remain unknown.
And that headline again from BBC News. As theories swirl about Air India crash, key details remain unknown.
This headline is about the different theories that have emerged around this crash. The word we're looking at today is swirl.
Now, the literal meaning of swirl is to move about in a circular motion, round and round. So when you empty a sink, for example, by taking out the plug, the water swirls around the sink before going down the hole. Or if it's really windy, you might see leaves swirling in the wind.
Of course, swirl is not being used literally in the headline. The story is talking about different theories and ideas of why the crash happened. They are swirling. Different theories are appearing and being repeated in lots of different places.
When something is swirling about like this, it means that lots of people are talking about it. And it can be used with other nouns too. So rumours can swirl, and gossip and accusations can all swirl around.
We had swirl. Different ideas exist and are being discussed.
For example, theories swirled about the real reason for the Prime Minister's resignation.
This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. Today we're talking about a report into the recent Air India plane crash.
Much of the criticism of the report has focused on what has not yet been released.
The investigators have been accused of not giving enough details, which may lead people to an incorrect conclusion.
And our next headline is about what is in the report and what has not been said.
This is from the Times of India. Air India crash, what AAIB report confirms, what it rules out, what still remains unanswered.
And that headline again from Times of India. Air India crash, what AAIB report confirms, what it rules out, what still remains unanswered.
This headline is about the AAIB, Air Accident Investigation Bureau report. We're going to look at the phrase still remains unanswered.
Now, this headline talks about three things. What the report says did happen, what it confirms. What it says didn't happen, what it rules out. And then the things that it doesn't mention, which is why there are questions that still remain unanswered.
Still remain unanswered is a phrase that we often use to talk about investigations or research.
Many investigations are not able to tell us everything. There are often things that still remain unanswered.
For example, in a criminal investigation, we may not know why the guilty person committed the crime. It's a question that still remains unanswered.
We've had still remains unanswered, hasn't yet been explained.
For example, this research has told us much about the dinosaurs, but many questions still remain unanswered.
This is Learning English from the News, our podcast about the news headlines. Today we're talking about the preliminary report into the recent Air India plane crash.
We've been talking about controversy around the published findings in the preliminary crash report.
And let's have our next headline. This comes from The Conversation. Was the Air India crash caused by pilot error or technical fault? None of the theories holds up yet.
That headline again from The Conversation. Was the Air India crash caused by pilot error or technical fault? None of the theories holds up yet.
This headline is about the theories that have been suggested as causes for the accident, and we're interested in the phrasal verb hold up.
We say that a theory holds up when the evidence shows that it's true.
The article says that we do not have enough information yet to say what caused the accident. None of the theories have enough evidence to show that they are true. None of them hold up.
We can use hold up in this way with theories, arguments, or excuses. If they hold up when they're tested or looked at closely, it means they're right or correct.
Let's look at another example. We could say, her argument that she didn't know about the problem doesn't hold up because 3 people told her and she had an email.
Hold up also has a literal meaning. If something holds up to some kind of force, then it doesn't physically fall apart.
For example, in the storm, the building held up well. It was obviously well built.
We've had hold up proved to be right or correct when examined.
For example, the defence's arguments didn't hold up in court when the evidence was examined.
That's it for this episode of Learning English from the News. We'll be back next week with another news story.
And if you want to practice what you've learnt, go to our website to see more example sentences and try our free worksheet.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. You'll find us at BBC Learning English on your favourite platform.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.